why we're here tonight. And I thought I would maybe call it the top 10 reasons for celebrating Tu B'Shvat and for joining in this Tu B'Shvat Seder. So many of you are familiar with some of the reasons. I don't know if you could give 10 reasons. I don't know if you could give the same 10 reasons. You're welcome to chime in with any others if you have. But I would say the number 10 reason, which really maybe is number 1, but I'm starting with it, is the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that there are 4 Rosh Hashanah, there are 4 New Years, and there's a special New Year for the trees, and that's the 15th of Bshvat, according to Beit Hillel. And what the significance of that is that it's the cutoff point for agriculture, for determining what the year of the tree. So if a tree was planted more than 30 days before the 15th of Bshvat, then it celebrates its first birthday on the 15th of Bshvat. So a tree that was planted a significant amount of time before the 15th of Bshvat will be considered, its fruits will be considered the fruits of that year, and after the 15th of Bshvat, it will be considered the fruits of the next year. And this is particularly significant in terms of the laws of Orla, which means the first 3 years that a tree is planted, the fruits are not eaten. And the 4th year, the fruits are supposed to be taken in the times of the temple to the Beit HaMikdash and eaten there. And it's also significant, that date is significant in terms of tithing of Maser. The fruits of the year prior to Tu B'Shvat are counted for the tithe of that year, and after Tu B'Shvat they will be counted on the tithe of the following year. The number 9 reason for celebrating Tu B'Shvat is that it celebrates our connection with the land of Israel, with Eretz Yisrael. What happens on Tu B'Shvat, believe it or not, the land in Israel it's the beginning of spring, and the land of Israel is renewing its strength. The sap is rising in the trees, and the trees they're making their way towards spring. They're leaving winter, and this is the beginning of spring. So the day that the land of Israel is renewing its strength, is coming alive again, that's a day of joy for all those who love Eretz Yisrael, who long for its renewal, long to be there, and pray for its welfare and the welfare of all those living in the land of Israel. Number 8, for all the Zionists here, is a big reason to celebrate Tu B'Shvat. The state of Israel adopted Tu B'Shvat as a day to celebrate our return to the land of Israel, the state of Israel. And I'm sure many of you are familiar. Trees are planted everywhere. Many of you may have planted your own trees, sponsored trees being planted there. And it's a day to rejoice in the fact that we have returned to the land, and to pray that all of us will get there, Mirz Hashem, with the coming of Mashiach. Amen. Number 7 is the environmental side. Rabbi Oppenheimer and I lived in Portland, Oregon for almost 10 years. And this was the most popular reason in Portland, Oregon for celebrating Tu B'Shvat is the environment. People are very environmentally oriented there, and we have many of us here who are too. It's a holiday that celebrates our connection with nature. And the Torah famously says that we should not cut fruit trees down in order to build ramparts for a siege. And Rav Hirsch explains that this teaches us that the Torah is expecting us to be very respectful of nature and not just use it capriciously. To respect that it has a purpose, and to allow it to grow and to conserve it. And so Judaism has a strong message of respecting the environment and conserving it, and passing it on to the future generations in good shape, and being able to plant trees. And in fact, just to mention, we have the carob fruit on the tables, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with the story of Lonni, who was walking and he saw an older man planting a carob tree, and he said, "Why are you planting this carob tree? You know, it takes 70 years for it to really bloom, to be in full bloom." Anyone want to give us the answer? Go ahead.
He said that he was doing it for his generation, the next generation of people, that it wasn't necessarily just for him, it was for the future generation.
Thank you. I hope you all heard. Just to summarize, he's planting for the future generations, just that it was planted for him. He's planting for the future generations. What am I up to? Number 6.
I thought it was because his wife told him to.
Number 6. Seder, Tu Bshvat Seder. The Kabbalists, the students of the Arizal in the 16th century, formulated a structure to celebrate Tu B'Shvat to help us know how to celebrate this day. And they built it, they modeled it on the Pesach Seder with 4 cups of wine and various fruits. They gave it a certain order and a certain structure. And it's all based on Kabbalah and the Zohar, and there are passages from the Zohar that come along with it. We who I can't claim to understand the passages of the Zohar and all the deep meanings associated with the fruits and with the structure of the Seder. But if we participate with the idea that we would like to latch on to those kavanot, those intentions, and by doing what we're doing, we will be able to express those in one way or another. So we participate in the Seder, follow their directions, and share insights with each other and to our connection with Hashem. And we know that the tree in Judaism is very expressive of our connection with spirituality. It's used as a metaphor for Torah. Eis Chaim, it's used as a metaphor for the tree of life. It's used as a metaphor for our connection to Hashem, connection between physical and spiritual. And I think Rabbi Mendelsohn will speak a little bit more about that in a short while. We're also, when we are participating in this Seder, we're being mitaken, we're correcting the ancient sin of Adam and Chava, which occurred with the tree, as we all know, like the tree of knowledge. And even Noah, he also stumbled with the fruits of the tree, with drinking from the wine of the vineyard. And we know that story appears in Parsha of Noah. So we try to be mitaken, to correct that by eating of the fruits in a way that will help us to elevate ourselves spiritually, to appreciate our connection with Hashem and the world that He put us in, and the bounty that He gave us, to enjoy and to bless Him before we eat it, after we eat it, and to understand the insights that help us to connect with Hashem in that way. Number 5. This is also a day of judgment. It's considered a day of judgment for the trees. And so it's a day of judgment for us. And if we think about it, it's a Rosh Hashanah. And just as we celebrate Rosh Hashanah, even though it's a day of judgment, we eat fruits. We dip apple in honey. We say Shechianu. We hope and we trust that the new year will be a sweet one. So similarly, the Torah compares, it says, Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh, that we are like the fruits of the field, the fruits of the trees of the field. So just as it's a new year for the trees, it's also a new year. It's a day of judgment for us. And so when we participate in the Seder and eat the sweet fruits, we hope that this year will be a sweet year for the trees and for all of us who are compared to trees. Number 4. Okay, number 4. We are told that when we get up to Shamayim, after 120 years old, maybe more, maybe Mashiach will come, it'll be even longer. When Mashiach comes, maybe. But whenever our time comes to appear before the heavenly court, we are told that we will have to give an accounting of all the fruits of the world that we didn't taste. We'll be called to accounting for it. Hashem will tell us, I gave you all this bounty, gave you so much to enjoy, and you didn't take advantage of it. That's so many years. So we came to this Seder here at Machane Chadash, community unity celebration, and we'll be able to say when that time comes, after 120, yes, we came to a Seder, and we tasted all sorts of Shechianu fruits. We ate many different delicious fruits. We enjoyed the bounty of the world that you gave us, and we express our gratitude to you and our appreciation of our connection with you. Amen. Number 3, the message of Tu Bshvat, especially given what happened yesterday, is of renewal and growth amidst in the depths of winter. So while we have mounds of snow piled up outside, and the trees are beautiful with the snow on them, but they look to all appearances to be dead in the dead of winter. But in the land of Israel, the sap is rising, and we know that even though it's dark and it's winter, spring is coming. And this message of Tu B'Shvat is of a renewal of hope within the darkness, within the depth of winter, that spring and renewal is just around the corner. And that we should never despair, even if it's cold and wintry and not everybody could get here. But look how many people did. And this message of hope, of life, and in the depth of winter, where it's not even apparent, but we know it's happening underneath, this is a message of encouragement to us, to take it to heart that even when we don't see in our own lives certain dark periods where the light is coming from and the life is coming from, Tu B'Shvat teaches us that it's happening and that we will see it. Even if we don't feel it happening, it's there and we will see it. Winter will pass and there will be a spring for each of us in our own personal lives as well. Number 2, you are what you eat. Since we are eating,
Easy on the nuts.
right? Don't be heavy on the nuts. Be heavy on the wine. That's the takeaway from it. So the people here are the ones who aren't whining, right? We hope that all the insights and that we talk about in connection with the fruits, that they'll be a part of us as we eat the fruits, and will help to elevate us and to bring us to greater heights. And that, after all, is the foundation of Judaism, that everything that is physical has a spiritual counterpart, and that it's all meant for us to elevate and to use in a spiritual way, even as we enjoy it in our physical sense. And the number 1 reason, I think that...
Drum roll.
Is that eat, drink, and be merry. For tomorrow,
It's Tu B'Shvat.
we start cleaning for Pesach. This year, we have an extra month, so thank God. But nevertheless, the way the Jewish calendar works, Tu B'Shvat is over, we start thinking about Pesach. So I believe that we should start with the first fruits, okay? And we'll start with the Shivat Haminim, the 7 species that the land of Israel is blessed with, and pour the first cup of wine. And then after that, we'll hear from Rabbi Mendelson and from anybody who has anything to say about any of the fruits, any insights, anything you want to share. We love to hear it. So everyone, pour yourselves some white wine. And there isn't a whole lot of it. There's very little white wine, so just take a little taste. And there's also some white grape juice around.